The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. The Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. You will not believe this. I have been talking with my guests for the past 15 minutes and didn't realize that we were not live. And so forgive my delay. You know me, I'm usually right on time. So let me go ahead and play the video of my guests, and we're going to start the show all over again.
He didn't just study history, he lived it, challenged it, and spoke truth to it even when the system turned its back. From the classroom to Congress, from lectures to liberation work, he stood on the front lines of intellect and integrity, and for that, he paid the price. They called it blacklisted, but what really happened was rebirth. This is not just a story about a man who wrote a book. It's about what happens when activism becomes the cross you carry, when telling the truth costs you your career, your comfort, and your peace, but gives you something greater: clarity, conviction, and the courage to keep fighting. Because real activism isn't a slogan or a social media moment. It's a lifetime of standing when sitting down would be easier. And today, we're talking to a man who's still standing. Proof that truth may get silenced, but it never dies. Joining us to tell his story and his truth is the one and only Dr. White.
Yes, Dr. White.
Yes.
I am excited to have you here today, and we are starting all over again. I
It
can't
is
believe
okay.
we talked for 15 minutes and we weren't live. So we're live now, and I'm going to start with the question. Can you share with us what your childhood was like and how it impacted you even today?
Yes. Thank you, Sister Vera. Those 15 minutes was great because we got to, we had the opportunity to learn more about each other.
Yes.
But as I stated earlier, my father is from Costa Rica. My mother's is born American. Her family was from, her father was from Haiti, but and her mother was from the United States. That being said, they were both involved in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, which is the oldest Black religious denomination in the country and perhaps in the world. And they were very much involved in mission building. They built churches in Panama, Costa Rica, Jamaica, the Virgin Islands, as well as in New York, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and in Florida. The perspective of my family was one that religion should be utilized as a mechanism to transform the lives of people. Within this mind and within this road, they created an atmosphere in our house whereby not only was spirituality the key, but also education. Before the age of 10 years old, I had read a 15-volume set on the life of Abraham Lincoln. By the age of 10, my mother and my father taught me about Marcus Garvey. I had to read Up from Slavery by Booker T. Washington. The point is by 12 or 13, I was well rooted in my culture and my historical fabric of not only who I am, but who and what is our culture. And my parents had enough sense to realize that when you're rooted in your culture and when you're rooted in yourself, nobody can change that. No one can tell you or create an environment that you feel less than. So that laid the foundation for me. My father, he became a good friend of A.G. Gaston, one of the first black millionaires in the United States. In fact, for some of you who don't know, he is the man who financed not Marcus Garvey, financed Martin Luther King throughout his struggles. My parents also became friends to Malcolm X, eating at his restaurants when we lived in New York and having meals with him and Betty. That was my family, and that was the type of atmosphere that I was brought up in. So therefore, by the age of 10, 12, 13, not only was I rooted in my culture, I was a good student, and I did not feel inferior to anyone. In fact, I felt superior to everything and anyone that was around me.
That is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And we are resilient people.
Absolutely.
However, if we don't know our history, we're bound to repeat it. And with you and with your parents instilling that education in you about who you are, where you came from, and all of the different components of advocacy, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And we had talked earlier about the fact that we've lost that. So many young people have no idea, no clue about who they are or whose they are and where they've come from. And
Yeah.
in times like these, that's what we need more than anything else. More than anything else. And I'm sure you mentioned that, you felt a little superior because you
Yeah.
had your history ingrained in you. And
Absolutely.
and
And we
so
need and
go
we need
ahead.
to get back to that. And one of the ways to get back to that is for the families to get together again, get back to traditional values. One of the things that we used to do in Black America, no matter if it's in New York or Washington or Florida or Jamaica, and that thing was having dinner together. All right, every night at the dinner table, it was a time to discuss not only family issues, but also historical, cultural, political issues that's taking place within our community. So therefore, we discuss, we critique, we analyzed, and we begin to come together. All right, because the family is the building block for the community, which is the
Yes.
building block for the nation. And so we have to get back to that type of thing again, because that's the only way we can do it. If we allow the institutions like high schools, elementary schools, to teach our history, you know what's going to be taking place? You're going to be learning another man's story about you. So therefore, the place of learning is the home. That's our first school. The place of healing is the home. That's where we get the best food. The place of love and religion and spirituality is the home. That's where we used to pray. Remember at one time, before we went to bed, we dropped to our knees and we said the Lord's Prayer.
Yes.
Now kids don't even know that.
I know. I know. It's so sad. And then we wonder why our society is as it is. And while we're talking about African American Black families, that thread has left the entire nation. And being able to sit at the table, parents, one of the things I want to encourage you to do in 2026, make a commitment, make a commitment to have dinner, at least one meal a day
Yes.
with your family together, and begin to talk about what's going on. Put the electronics in a basket. No cell
Mhm.
phones or no tablets at the table. a time for you to come together and talk about what's going on in your life, in your school, in society. It is so critical. One of the other things we had mentioned was how the church was a great source of advocacy when we were growing up. I
Yes.
want you to speak to that because you said some pretty important things earlier.
Well, the church was our pillar. All right. That's where the minister and the congregation got together again to talk about and to focus on our interests. Now the church has become an entertainment center, a prosperity gospel, a prosperity theology, as well as a place just to be a dance hall in the name of God. So, but we have to get back to whereby the church laid the foundation, where the minister utilized the scriptures to create the dynamic that allowed us to achieve. For example, I mean, not Marcus, even Marcus Garvey. He came from the church. His church was the Anglican church, a Black Anglican church. You have Martin Luther King came from the Baptist community. You have Richard Allen, who came from the Methodist community. You had Absalom Jones, who came from the Methodist community. These men and women as well, because of the church and spirituality, we learned and they learned that our work, our life is entwined with the spirituality of liberation. And we have to get back to that. If we don't get
Absolutely.
back to it, we are completely lost as a people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was remiss in sharing your bio this time, but I do want to kind of just touch on a couple of things about you. You are a distinguished scholar and author. You have taught at respective institutions such as the University of Cincinnati, University of Illinois at Springfield, and the University of Central Florida, where you earned tenure. You have two books. One, Inside the Nation of Islam, Personal and Historical Testimony of a Black Muslim, and it remains an academic bestseller. You also recently authored Blacklisted, Paying the Price for Speaking Truth. And we're going to be talking about that tonight. In addition, your expertise spans public history, Latin American and Caribbean studies, constitutional and legal history, and the African diaspora. Your insights have been featured on BBC, Al Jazeera, the History Channel, Discovery Network, CNN, Fox News, Nightline, 60 Minutes, and Good Morning America. I am so honored that you are here with me today to impart and to pour into our audience that will either listen now or listen to the replay. So it is just an honor to have you here. And
My pleasure. You forgot one thing. Since your show is coming from Ohio, that I
yes,
graduated from Ohio State University. So
yes.
I am a Buckeye through and through.
Well, good for you. You know how I feel about Ohio, but I'm glad to be here. But it's cold. I mean, there's no
Yes.
telling what the weather's like in Florida right now, but it's
It's
like
warm.
really
Yes.
cold here.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm glad that you have some roots here in Ohio because you also taught at the University of Cincinnati, correct?
Yes. I did. And I was the director of the Paul Lawrence Dunbar Museum in Dayton, Ohio,
Oh,
and a
awesome.
consultant with the Ohio Historical Society in Columbus, as well as the Cincinnati Historical Society in that great city. So my work is academic, my work is historical in reference to museum development, but also politically. I've been a diplomat in Brazil, as well as in Ghana and as well as in Tanzania. Um, and I've been on several White House commissions as well as several governor's commissions. So my work is academic, but also I have been a fighter, and I am a fighter for our people. My perspective is that our interest must be made known, that our interest is not aligned with any political party, because at one time, Sister Vera, the African American community was the top shot callers among all minority groups. Everybody had to come through us, and the president and the vice president and the secretary of state and so forth. They had to come through our organizations if they wanted to meet a certain mark. But now we have become, in many respects, obsolete. We have fallen to the point of maybe being fourth or fifth on the ladder. We're behind white women. We're behind the gay, lesbian, transgender community. We're behind light-skinned Latinos, and I must make the distinction of light-skinned Latinos, because we forget that slavery was there too, and they have the same racism that we have in the United States. We're behind light-skinned Muslims. Even though I'm a Muslim, there's a distinction between Muslims of who are FBAs, Foundational Black Americans, and Muslims who come from different parts of the world. And we have fallen behind. So therefore now we're pushing their interest as opposed to pushing our own. And that being said, we have fallen farther and farther behind economically, educationally, in reference to wealth development. We have become just an obsolete group. Again, that term I have to use, and I use it sadly.
And it is sad. My question is, one, what caused that? Two, how do we change it?
Well, one of the things that caused it, which I outline in my manuscript, is that one, we wanted to align with the so-called power brokers. So therefore, we started taking on their norms, their attitude, their directives, their ideology, thinking that if a few of us got along with them, it would help the race. We called this group, in another article that I wrote for the UCLA Law Journal, I called this group the Black Professional Managerial Class, whereby they wanted to feel as if they're just like the larger white community power broker. The only difference, they were dark skinned, and they would push their agenda on the larger African American community. That's the first problem. They forgot about their agenda and our interest. Secondly, we have become sellouts. We have become gatekeepers for other people. So therefore, when there are young men and women and organizations that's asking serious questions, if it's concerning American hegemony, if it's concerning reparations, if it's concerning real issues, the unemployment rate of Black men, we table that because the larger community doesn't want to hear it. So that being said, we have lost our power, we have lost our leadership, and we have lost our way. Right now, the Congressional Black Caucus, which is a sad institution, in my perspective, that has really sold the community out. For example, a couple of years ago, I had a chance to speak with people like Hakeem Jeffries, Jasmine Crockett, and several others. They had just came from Israel. And I asked the question to them in a group, why did you go to Israel? I mean, if you want to go for a vacation, okay, fine. That's your business. But you taking the group and making a statement, and you were paid off by the Netanyahu regime. And so Jeffrey said, when we went there along with McCormick, who is this Congress lady from the southern part of Florida, said, "Oh, we went there to study and look at racism." Well, that was silly, because as I said, if you want to study racism, all you got to do is cross your own street. You find all the
Amen.
racism in the world. You don't have to go.
Amen.
Then secondly, I asked them, and since you went there, why didn't you go to Gaza? They had no answer for me. The point is, they went there to be paid off to speak and to come back to speak an agenda that is not ours. And that is so sad and everything because we elected those people to represent our interest in our interest. And sadly, every Black congressperson that we have, if you study their district has not moved progressively forward. It's still high unemployment. It's still an element of criminality. It's still an element whereby no industry. All right. If it wasn't for some Asians having some hair salons and the Black church, they won't have nothing there. And that's throughout the country. If it's in Watts, if it's in Harlem, and Harlem is not even Black any longer, sadly, you see. Or if it's in if it's in Atlanta, those districts are the poorest, and their leaders have not done anything to change that condition because they're more concerned with being part of the elite, playing politics, and looking for clicks in reference to their social media. They're much different than the Shirley Chisholms. They're much different than the Adam Clayton Powell Juniors. They're much different than the Daniels that we had. These are not the same as our old ones.
Well, I must say, I admire Crockett because she does. I mean, she's trying, and as I see it, she is making an effort. She does speak truth to power. And I know that you're running for Congress in Florida.
Yes.
And I have your banner up here now. So can you tell me, how are you going to be any different?
Well, first of all, that's very easy. First of all, I don't take money from PACs or major corporations. The people who funnel me, which are the people who can protect me, are members of my own community, the underclass community. Those nickels and dimes, they may not be as powerful as the hundreds and thousands of dollars, but they do have influence. That is the element. Several months ago, some members of the organization, APAC, they came to me and they said, well, Dr. White, we will support you if you tabled your policies on Israel, if you tabled your policies on the Sudan, if you tabled your policies on reparations. Well, I said, I am not a whore. I am not a political whore. I will not table those things because I have to speak for the needs of our people. And my voice and my work means my life. My integrity is everything. And if it means that I have to fall on a sword for our people, I would do so. And that's what every congressional leader and senator should say. Secondly, along with that, I am not afraid to bring up the issues of what is affecting us. For example, when you talk about the military, people don't know that 60% of the American military is made up of Black people, primarily Black men. All right. Now, interesting thing, Black men has the highest rate of unemployment in the country. So therefore, when you meet the average Black man that has a little bit of something, a little house, a little car, maybe a little business, they were part of the military. This is done deliberately, all right, to keep certain positions away so they cannot advance in the public sector. So the only place they can go to is the military, and most of them would be on the crossfires. Right now, we're on the verge of having 5 major wars. All right. The Trump administration, no different than the Biden administration, they're like, as Malcolm said, they have blood coming from their mouth. They're looking for war. They love war. All right, because war keeps them in business, keeps them in power, keeps their pockets full, and they can always play the game. We're looking for peace. Those types of things I would change because
How?
but first of all, one of the first things that I will do is that I will call for the reduction of the 936 military bases that we have throughout the world. We have more military bases than any and all the countries combined. All the countries combined. The next country to have military bases more than one or five is England. They only have 35. All right. You have Russia has 6. China has about 5. India has 3. We talk about military bases globally. That tells us that we need to close those military bases and use that money for infrastructure development. If you go to cities like Chicago, I love Chicago. Go to cities like New York. Go to cities like Miami. Go to cities like Cleveland, close to you. The infrastructure is falling apart. Use
But
that money for that.
but the problem is, especially with this current administration, it seems as though they are dismantling everything that is for the benefit of our people, not only African Americans, but America as a whole. With this ICE that's killing folk and unliving people.
That's right, and it's wrong. But what they need to do though, instead of just complaining, they have to create an alternative program and bring it on the floor. For example, with ICE, I mean, what they're doing is terrible. But a number of Americans want illegal immigrants to leave. A number of people want that. Okay, if that is the case, you make it more humane. How's that? Well, if you know that you're targeting a person because you think that they violated the law, okay, of course you have due process. And if they're found guilty on this, give them 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks to get their house in order so they can self-deport. Because it's just not one person who is deporting, you're deporting a whole family.
But
All
not
right?
only that, right now, we're not only just picking up people that are supposedly illegal, but we're picking up U.S. citizens as well right now, killing them right
Yes,
now.
yes,
And you talk about due process. There has not been any due process since this administration came into power. There has been no due process, sending people all over the country, all over the world.
yeah, yeah. And along with this, to change this, we also now the African American community and the leadership, we must develop allies outside the United States. I'm the only one. I'm the only one in the United States who was actually given a invite to the BRICS conference. Most people don't even know what BRICS is. All right. BRICS is the new organization, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, that now has over 30 additional members. They represent 54% of the human family and population. They represent over 52% of the mineral resources on the planet. They are the new power. So therefore, align with certain groups. If we begin to align, all right, we have some influence on the outside that can influence the power brokers in our country. But if we
Well,
try to do it on our own, we don't have any, as Trump would say, we don't have any cards.
well, the problem is right now we are being alienated from our allies right now.
Yeah,
We-
well, that's true, but they're still allies. I mean, and the allies that we have to connect with them, and the other allies that are not doing good work on our behalf, we have to let them know. For example, Kenya. I've been to Kenya. I love Kenya. I love Nairobi. But the problem with Kenya is that Kenya now has become a peg of Americanism, hegemony. How's that? The Kenyan government has allowed their troops to go into Haiti, right, to monitor them and to control them in a pseudo or neo-colonialist manner. we have to let Kenya know that this is not proper. All right, they're being used. We have to align with countries that's willing to challenge American hegemony. It doesn't mean war, but it means that, listen, if you don't do things right, we will sanction you, America. All right, we will create an economic embargo on you, and we have to be ready and good with that.
Well, right now we're facing authoritarianism and dictatorship, and we have caused our allies. I mean, even at in Switzerland when he spoke and how he demeaned and degraded and ridiculed people that are supposed to be our allies.
Well, I, I look at this in a very interesting way. They're allies to the United States, but not always allies to us as people of African descent in the United States.
Okay,
All right.
valid.
With some of the things they have done. I mean, when you look at how France are treating their own black population, how England is talking about getting rid of their black and brown population, deportation. Portugal, they have reduced elements of human rights of their black population.
Oh
Spain
my.
has done the same thing. Germany is no different. So they may be allies to the government in reference to NATO and militarism. They have not been our allies, and that so therefore we have to look for allies that represent our interests. And I think
I
there's several out there in the global South.
Okay. So what you're saying is there is what it sounds like you're saying. There is a blatant attack on people of color, African Americans, black folk all over the world right now.
Absolutely. That's right. Black people are being attacked all over the world. And the only ones that are fighting back are members of the global South, countries like Burkina Faso, countries like Mali, countries like Tanzania, countries like uh, uh, um, the Congo. They're fighting back against this. Countries like Brazil, that I used to live, are fighting back against this hegemony, and they're the ones who will be able to help us because, as Malcolm stated, we're in a global fight.
We are. So let's bring it home. What can we do here other than vote for you, get you in Congress? What can we do? I mean, because we're talking about all this stuff that seems so far removed from us as individuals. Is there anything that we can do individually as well as collectively, as well as where our families are concerned? What can we do? Because right now we're at a critical mass. We
Mhm.
are in deep, deep trouble.
Yes.
And I
Well,
realize, and the other thing, I realize that the government is on his shoulders. And I know that he allows good and bad leaders to come into play. But
mhm.
what can we do? I mean, something that's got what we're going through right now, in my opinion, is not sustainable.
Yes,
It
yes.
is not sustainable. We cannot continue on this trajectory and expect there to be a better outcome.
Well, I think
We're
there's several things that we can do. Um, Much like the Jews, we should not follow any political party. The Jews, they're in the Republicans, they're in the Democrats, they're independents. And guess what? They speak on the same issue. They follow the same line of thought, regardless of the party. We have to do that. Instead, we follow a ideological philosophy of a political party. That's the wrong thing to do. Secondly, we must begin to not be afraid to utilize our pocketbook as a weapon to go against the system. Stop buying certain things. Maybe stay home one day. If 60% of us stayed home one day on like on a Friday or a Saturday, the whole country would feel it. We have to let them feel our pain. Thirdly, we have to begin to force our leaders to speak our interests and let them know what real justice is. What I mean by that, for example, we have individuals like Ben Crump, and several others, and when a person gets beaten up or die, they settle in a family, get millions of dollars. Well, that's not justice. The people, the man or woman who is dead, they don't get to spend the money. They're dead. All right. But we have to create and teach these men who and women that justice is creating laws that these things will not happen again. We have to understand what real justice is. Along with that, we have to um, force our political leaders to follow our agenda. That is, if they don't follow our agenda of reparations, if they don't follow our agenda of industrialism within our community, if they don't follow our agenda of universal health care and free education, then they will not be in office very long. All right? This whole thing that I'm so tired of is that when we get somebody in office and they don't do certain things right, we say, well, you have to negotiate. Oh, well, they're young. Oh, well, they'll get there. Well, heck with that. You don't negotiate your principles and your people. And if you're not ready to do the real work, well, stay your butt home and let somebody else run that can do a good job. That's where we have to be.
I agree with everything you're saying. However, voting is very important.
Absolutely.
And right now, there are many of us who are not voting. So, in order to do and get those things done that you're talking about, the first thing is being able to vote or exercising your right to vote. Because if we don't vote, then we cannot expect the changes that we need to occur because especially not voting, they ignore us. We're
Yeah.
ignored. We are an ignored people. Speak
Well,
to that.
we have to have candidates where people want to vote for. We just can't have a black face in a high place and say, well, I vote for them because they look like you. We have to have people who represent our interest. And right now, we're getting people who say, well, I want to run because I want to be the first black in this seat. I want to run because, I want I went to St. Mother Bethel AME Church. We have to have people who really represent our interests. And the only way that we can do that, we have to have our institutions train young people to be leaders and to run for office. Make sure they read have a certain curriculum, so they can understand issues and let them know that their job is not to be a career politician, but to be a career fighter for your people.
Which brings me to my next topic. You've been attacked
Oh, yes.
because of your viewpoints and because of, as a matter of fact, I'm going to pull this up right quick. Let me see if I can take us over to the side. Now, I don't know if you want to explain this.
Yes, yes. A few nights ago, I spoke at an event, and at the event, there were Jewish extremists along with a certain white racists who decided that I was not a good candidate. If you want to disagree with me, that's fine. but they utilized slander, and it was a smear campaign. Remember, in the book that I wrote, I state they use four things to suppress our voice. One, character assassination. Two, they go after your money, which means if you have your own business, they will find a way that whereby you lose contracts. If you have a job, you will get fired. Third way is to go after trumped up charges against you, make up stuff. So you have to go into court and you spend a whole lot of money. Then the fourth element, they'll find something to stick in you, they'll put you in jail or actually even kill you. That's where we are right now.
That
So
is
with
where
this,
we are right now. That is
absolutely.
absolutely where we are right now. People
Yeah,
are being killed because of their
absolutely.
political views.
That's right. So with this, they came after me saying that first of all, I am a I am a um, anti-Semite, which means that oh, I hate Jews. Why did they say that? Because I was the first one to bring up the issue of Netanyahu as being a war criminal, and he's creating genocide, and Israel is an apartheid state. I would not run for that from that. I would say it. So they were mad at me about that. Secondly, they didn't like my affiliation with the Nation of Islam. All right. So I brought up the issue that, whatever you think about the Nation of Islam, it's part of our organization and they have done some good within our community. It's not your concern. All right. So therefore, yes, the family of Malcolm is my friend. Yes, the family of Muhammad Ali, they're my friends. Yes, Minister Farrakhan is my friend. They didn't like that. I would never repudiate those people. That's what a number of black people have done in the past. The heck with that. Third level, they said that because I wanted universal health care, that I'm communist. And I said, what is this? How is this? Israel has universal health care. All right. Great Britain has universal health care. Australia. All right. It's just something that we
Switzerland.
should have. Then the last thing that really got pissed off is because, oh, I said something about reparations. Well, in response to that, right now we're giving reparations to the United States for Ukrainians. We have confiscated the monies from Russian banks to give to Ukrainians in the United States. When Biden was in government, he had signed over a bill that was getting ready to be initiated, whereby reparations would be given to Latinos who have been separated at the border. It was only brokered, it was only told when the Wall Street Journal got got a part of it. And reparations doesn't mean going back to slavery. It means the number of communities that were destroyed by political and governmental interaction. There's a book that you should read, and all people should read, and that is a book titled The Choice by Samuel Yeti. Piece came out in 1971, still relevant, that talks about how our communities were destroyed.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
and we never was given back.
Closing in 3 minutes. We have to start
Okay.
wrapping up. Wrapping up.
All right. I see I'm in a public space now, and they're telling me that we have 3 minutes to shut it down. I don't
Okay.
want to.
And that the reason is we're 15 minutes behind because I didn't
Yeah.
start it. So we will have you come back
Cool.
and we can continue our conversation. Okay?
Yes. Well, Sister Vera Thomas, I mean, instilling greatness. Thank you. I love your form. You're well read. I mean, you know your stuff. I mean, I like how you
Thank
come
you.
back with that stuff, and you know, the power, as John Hope Franklin used to say, along with several other scholars, the power of our community also comes from the power and the strength of Black women. And I thank you for what you're doing. May God continue to bless us and bless you. And united always, people united will never be defeated. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. God bless. And I will see you all on Tuesday. So God bless. Have a great weekend. Stay warm if you're in the snow belt area. Enjoy if you're in Florida.
Bye bye.
Okay. God bless. Bye
God
bye.
bless. Bye bye.
And we will be back on Tuesday. I'm back in the swing of things, even though I'm back in the swing of things. So I will see you all on Tuesday. God bless, and you have a wonderful weekend. And again, stay warm. Goodbye.
The Vera